Good evening, and good evening once more. Welcome to another one of my live stream readings from the Book of Helkey. The book that I'm reading from right now is the first book in my epic climate fantasy series, modern climate fantasy called Helkey. The first book is Into Infernia, in which Myra Helkey engages in a desperate mission to Hell for what she knows not, because her memory of her mission has been erased, even as her parents, her mother and father, who are mages. In fact, they're all mages. But her mother and father also undertake a desperate gambit on Earth to distract the Lord of Hell himself, Asmodeus, from Myra's own efforts in the Wisp Fields and beneath the looming dark evil tower that is Overseer. Before we start, I'd like to share with you a little bit of my original map artwork depicting some of the events in the chapter that I'll be reading for you tonight, the Battle of Sunken Crag, desperate moves. And there's quite a lot of maneuvering, a lot of desperate moves that occur. But here you can see a portion of the Wisp Fields and some of the action. I'm not going to describe it too much to you. I'm just providing it for you to set the scene. I don't want to provide any spoilers, though. So let's just... yeah, I see I've got someone watching. Hey, thanks, Shivari. Good to see you. But yeah, I'm just going to be mostly reading tonight. If you guys want to chat afterwards, let me know. And it appears that I'm on the wrong chapter, so hold on, let me go ahead and pull up the right one. If you want to read any of the chapters in Helkey, you can just go to scribblersfantasticalworkshop.wordpress.com and find the table of contents, which is just in the upper right of the page. So if you click on that image, this image of a desolate landscape, which I thought was very appropriate for Helkey, you can then find the hyperlinks to each of the chapters and read or listen to a reading from me. And here we are. So I will go ahead and start with chapter 31, the Battle of Sunken Crag, Desperate Moves. My little ragtag army of models, urdrakes, and plumicats is ready to go. Sure, they're scared witless. Who wouldn't be facing down the worst hell has to offer in the form of scores of heavily armed devils? Fiendish drivers who want nothing more than to kill your corpus, rip out your wisp, then force it to serve as a slave in a torturous warb. All led by terrible overseers profiting from the horrible wisp trade. But our little force is fresh from 2 big victories against the devils of Overseer Tower. They're also serious badasses. I'm sorry, it's starting to dawn on me that the urdrakes and plumicats are both some kind of uber predator. The urdrakes are mini Godzillas as giant snapping turtles with the ability to shoot beams of killing light out of their freaking heads. Plumicats remind me of some tiger velociraptor hybrid. Models, though not carnivorous, are like a badass mashup of a giant bat with a cloaker from D&D. Yeah. After all the fighting, I've got D&D on my mind today. Deal. I ride the nasty vortex up to the canyon wall, my company of uber predators and other misfits following along in the hell machine's stinking wake. Its banshee wail engine rips at my ears. Poor tortured wisps churning inside A ring of spiritual teeth, spitting out soul juice to spike the fossil fuel crud devils burn in their engines. Clouds of noxious smoke rise around me. I climb over the canyon's lip, stare out across hills, spilling into the wisp fields. Mists from earlier are now clear. Lights and shadows play together beneath a fractured night sky. At first, it's tough to make out what I'm seeing, though I'm pretty sure most of the lights are wisps. There's a huge group of devils tooling about down there. Grimjaw pads up beside me, points with a clawed hand to the lands below. See them, he growls. I follow the tip of his claw to a large force of devils churning across stinking lands. They're still many miles away. A plume of backlit smoke rises from their vortexes, which swarm around hulking scorpions, tail tips blazing in red-orange orbs from stolen wisp energy. They're tough to miss once I know where to look. Still far off, so it's understandable I overlooked them in omnis scientia. Grimjaw shifts his claw lower. There, too, he says again in more of a whisper. I have to focus after a few seconds. I catch a smoke plume against the night. Following it down, I see a cluster of flickering warbs. They're close enough for me to hear the faint sound of vortex engines wailing now that I've briefly throttled down my nasty machine. I see them, I reply. Model quivers as he shares my senses. He's excited, afraid, anticipating what's to come. Grimjaw shifts his hand a final time. He points above the wisp fields. I focus my sight. I can't see shit. Closing my eyes, I shift to omnis scientia, then use its enhanced sight to follow Grimjaw's claw to the point he's indicating. At the last, I see the Octina, its red ribbon form threading through the night sky. Fuck, I say as I recognize the devil snake. I've heard Grimjaw's earlier report of the sighting, but I hope the big plumacat was somehow mistaken. The Octina's flying right for that big force of devils. It's a rather slow flyer, but judging from its path and speed, it'll meet with the larger devil force in about a half hour. I stare as plumacats and Erdrick climb up onto the ridge beside me. The models glide overhead. Our scouts are ready on the next ridge about a half-mile off. Terry and Zell pull up beside me in their own stinking vortexes. Zaya is flying overhead. The two wounded plumacats wail in on their vortexes beside us. I want all of you to stay close to me, I say to them. Zaya, I'm going to need you again soon. Do you think you'll be ready to change more wisps in about an hour? The Hell Fairy hovers close. She has to shout over the wail of the stupid vortexes. I'll have to rely on you more, but yes. Fan-frickin-tastic. I turn to Zell and Terry. What can you tell me about those scorpions? We took that one out pretty quick a while back, but I don't think I got a chance to see what it was fully capable of. Zell looks at Terry, who replies, Those scorps are great machine monsters. Close in, they can shred about anything with their burning claws. The tails are the bigger threat, though. They can steal raw wisp energy to throw glowing balls of destruction. Much larger than the fireball rounds, but slow. You'll see them coming if they do. Better get out of the way. Fucking great. I was worried about something like this. Zell took out the tail of the first scorp we ambushed quick, so I didn't get to see it in action. How far can it throw its hell balls? About 10 miles. But like I said, they're slow. You can see them coming. If you move, you can get out of their path. This creates a complication. The Scorps are about 8 miles out. Within range, if the devils spot us. That'll probably happen soon, although one thing's certain. I don't intend to sit still. Frickin' great. Now follow me. I gun my vortex over to Zorfang. He's got a cluster of Erdriks near him. They're walking in a shambling line along the ridge. Their pace is slow but steady. The measured movement is something I've thought about as we climb up to the ridgeline. Soon, the larger devil force will see us. I'm going to need to move quick, but I've got to make sure I employ these Erdrik effectively, or we're all pretty much effed. I need to know what you got, Zorfang, I say to the massive Godzilla turtle thing. He tilts his giant reptile head down toward me, giving a quizzical look. It's cute, even on a beast I know could bite my frickin' arm off. With one great snap of his serrated beak, I point to the crystal formation at the top of his head. How far do those shoot? Can you run out? Zorfang scratches the crystal formation with a large claw. Shoots as far as I see, but gets weak with distance. Up close, it cuts. Further, it heats. Further still, it will blind. I point down to the large group of devils in the wisp field's center. What can you do to that? If some look this way, we can blind them, perhaps. I point to the Ictina. That? I ask. I'm using Omniscientia to see it. I can't fracking see it with my own eyes. I'm wondering if Zorfang can. Zorfang looks in the direction I'm pointing. He casts about for a moment, then he closes his eyes, tilts the crystal structure a little, then a small beam shoots out. In Omniscientia, I see the Ictina momentarily light up. Neat trick. Ah, Zorfang hums. Though closer, it is small and bobs around. He seems to consider for a moment before replying. Blind it. 3, maybe 4 of us can heat it. This is new information. You can combine your beams? Zorfang nods. I'm impressed. This is one hell of a capability. The Erdrakes may be slow, but they can lay down the literal heat over long distances. I felt like a commander of blazer artillery. Last of all, I point at the scouts closing in on the vortexes. And those? Zorfang doesn't even hesitate. Small cuts. We can heat the machines to explode. Amazing. Okay, Zorfang, that's really helpful. So I'm going to take these vortexes, the models, and the Plumacats out into the wisp fields. We're going to be moving crazy fast. I want you to get your Erdrakes to hit that Ictina now. If you can, get the snake out of the air. But try not to make too much light if you can. I point to the next ridge line. Then I want you to run to that ridge as fast as you effing can. You might have to, well, let's just say you might have some fire hurled your way from those giant scorps down there. I motion to the larger force of devils. So I want you guys to shoot, then move, shoot again, then move like hell. Keep them guessing. Get all the Erdrakes up there and be ready. Zorfang nods. Yes, Fjother, he says in his deep musical tones, then begins to shuffle off. Wait a sec, I'm not finished. Zorfang pauses. I reach out a hand, touch his forehead. Casting my curse magic out, I connect him to Omniscientia. Una, I incant. Now he can see and hear through the sensor. I direct it to hover down next to me. This is Omniscientia. It's a sensor I've crafted out of magic. I'm taking it with me, but I've just set it so that you can see me through it when you concentrate on me. Now close your eyes and try it out. Zorfang closes his eyes. I can see, Myra, he says. It's clearer than crystal sight. Fantastic. Now, when I touch the sensor, you will also be able to hear me. I reach out, drag my hand through the sensor's curse-shaped body. Like this, I say as I touch it. Zorfang shuffles in surprise as my voice is transmitted to him twice, once through regular sound and once through the sensor. Yes, I hear. Okay. So you know what your first mission is, right? The red snake in the sky. We try to heat or blind it. Then, on that rise, shoot, then move. He sings the last bit loudly. He seems to be getting pretty riled up. Excellent. After that, we'll be in touch. I tap my ear. I pause, look behind me at Rookfang. For a moment, I muse about their names. Neither actually has any real fangs, just serrated beaks. I shake off my moment of bemusement. Grabbing Rookfang's arm, I slide him gently off the bike. It takes a lot of effort. This guy is huge. Weighs hundreds of pounds. He plunks down onto the ground beside Zorfang with a thunk. One more thing. I need you to take him with you. Get 2 of your stronger Erddrake to carry him. Zorfang looks down at Rookfang, then harums an affirmation. With a smile and a thumbs up, I ride off in the direction of Featherstar. She's got 10 Plumacats lined up. 8 of them have finally teamed with the remaining models. Grimjaw, Shade, and his scout team flow into them. Terry, Zell, and the 2 wounded Plumacats on Vortexes ride up. Zaya hovers overhead. My stomach tightens as I take in this motley assortment. Together we number a mere 37, including the scouts running out ahead. That's 49. Pretty thin. But I'm counting on the 23 frickin' laser artillery Erdrakes I'm leaving behind to give us some heavy support. As I look over my force, I feel like I'm about to take a big drop on a huge roller coaster. But this roller coaster is diving me straight into heavy friggin' combat. Stuff is about to get real brutal. The chips are down. It's time for some desperate moves, I say to them. We're heading out together. Our first objective is to take out that scout company. I point in the direction of the 10 devils on vortexes heading straight toward us. Next, we circle back to eliminate their main force. I'm counting on you to be swift and fierce. We're going to punch them in the nose, then draw them into a fight they won't make it out of. I sound a lot more confident than I feel, but I've got to make them believe it's possible. Otherwise, it won't be. The Erdrakes will set up on these hills to rain barrages of blinding light and heat down on them. Don't look back. I point to my eyes, then point back to them. Eyes to the enemy. I ride to the downslope, summon up my moon shadow blade, then point it at the leading force of devils. Now charge! Corvus flies through the air as swift as he can. It's infuriatingly slow. He's not a fast flyer, more a swimmer of air currents. While near the vortexes, he can catch a slipstream and glide along, carried forward by the unicycle's motion. His teleports are crazy quick but short distance. At most, he jumps about 500 feet. Making such jumps is highly exerting, and he'd panicked when the fireball blossomed around him above the canyon. The sudden expense of energy needed to escape its blast had drained him. He might be able to jump once or twice more before succumbing to exhaustion, so he stuck coiling through the air toward Lavros's lumbering force. It's frustrating. Lavros must know about the mage's large and deadly gathering of plumicats, models, and urdrakes. Lavros, Lavros, see me, Lavros, he laments, hoping the overseer will spot him and send out his vortex riders to scoop him up. He rides toward a current of falling air he hopes will carry him to Lavros when his skin suddenly becomes blazing hot. He shrieks, jumps, then spins to see where the fireball round came from. There is no fireball, just a painful burning sensation all over his body that lets him know the heat he felt was real. He spins in a spiral. His teleport brought him lower, but he still has the advantage of height for perspective. He looks toward the Razor Hills. It takes him a moment to make out the distant forms of Urdrake in a line along a ridge. Then a barrage of brilliant flashes shoots up from the Urdrake. He feels another searing pain, this time over his face, his eyes. Darkness and burning swallow him. He jumps again, falls through a well of black, slams into the ground. All goes dark. When Corvus wakes, he finds he's lost all sight except his peripheral vision. A great black hole eats up his gaze. He tries to fly, but can't gain perspective and slams into the ground again. Popping up, he tips his head to try to see the land around. There's a nearby rise. He scrabbles atop it, tilts his head. The rim of sight is maddening in its elusiveness. He coils and spins as he tries to see. At last he makes out the blurry form of a scorpion lumbering about 5 miles away in the corner of his gaze. Hissing in pain, frustration, and not a little fear, he begins to slither across the wisp fields, hoping some land predator doesn't spot him in his damaged state. Now exhausted, his body aching, battered, stinging all over from burns, he wants nothing more than to sleep, to heal from the terrible damage done to him by the Urdrake. Each twist of his body feels like it's doing more damage. Regina did value him enough to grant him a healing infusion of wisp energy, should he survive. A tickle of fear runs up his spine. Did she? Corvus crawls faster. Lavros snarls at the stupid psychic. What the fuck are you telling me then? He yells. His fanged mouth bites off each word. He imagines they are chunks of this spineless wretch's flesh. The psychic, its long horns more like antennae than regular devil horns, wilts, its flesh turning from red to light pink. Mislik, the psychic, rides behind a hoary, burly driver atop a vortex. Though the machine's wailing is enough to make Mislik's ears ring, somehow Lavros's yelling seems even louder. It's sending one of Jesler's psychics. It's from Nimcat. Mislik shouts back. She says the mage has Urdrake. You need to be careful. Regina's sending a second group to reinforce you. I know about the fucking Urdrake. I saw their fucking lights. Do you think I'm a lemur? I've been an overseer in these parts for a fucking 120 years. Lavros shouts back. Stupid psychics and that bitch Regina, pointing out the fucking obvious. And she's sending a damned follow-on force. Means one thing. Regina's lost confidence in his ability to take down the mage. Reinforce? Feldust. Who the fuck are they sending? Nimcat says it's Dresler himself, Mislik replies, trying to keep his voice neutral. He knew all too well what it meant sometimes to be the bearer of bad news. And Lavros looks furious. Look, you tell Regina and Dresler to sit fucking tight. A couple of Urdrake aren't going to change that damn mage's fate one notch. His wisp is good as taken. I'll tell them you received their message, Mizlik says evenly, then thumps his driver, motioning for him to slow down. The dark psychic drops back, but is treated to a parting barrage of curses coming from Lavros. Lavros turns away from the cowardly Mizlik, damned psychic, one of Asmodeus' supposed all-knowing faithful, worthless and weak. He should have sent him forward with Amagash or Talith. Now he has to suffer Regina's insistent mulings. He blows out a frustrated breath from between his jagged teeth. Fucking Dressler. Regina's favorite overseer is a tall devil with skin so dark it borders on black. He has a snide, self-assured air that Lavros finds both insulting and defeat. Yet Regina had chosen Dressler as her high commander for military situations just like this one. If she's moving Dressler into the field, that meant this wouldn't be his shit show for very much longer. Lavros looks at the lumbering scorpions in frustration one more time. If he plays a strong hand now, maybe he can keep ahead of Dressler's meddling and still take credit for the mage's wisp. He just needed an opportunity. Then, a ridgeline to his right erupts in flashes of light. Lines of white streak out from the Razor Hills to illuminate a region of sky to his front right. There's a second flash. The light allows him to zero in on its source. Then he sees them. A row of Urdrake on a hillside about 8 miles away. At least 5 of them are emitting light. He looks for a moment toward Talith, but her vortexes are well below the beams. He scans the sky. What in blazes are they aiming at? He shakes his head. No matter. They just given away their position. And none too soon with Dressler and Regina breathing down his neck. Ranthar! He shouts back to his fourth in command. Overseer! Ranthar shouts as he drives up beside Lavroth and gives a sharp salute. Take your lance and stick with the scorpions. Make for those hills. There are Urdrake atop that ridge. Put some fire on them now. Lavros points toward where he glimpsed the Urdrake's light beams. Yes, Overseer. Lavros always appreciated Ranthar's ease with taking orders, a bit thick, but intelligence is often overrated. I'm taking the remaining 5 lances. We're going ahead to charge those hills. If you see any more targets, don't hesitate to bring devastation down on them with our scorpions. Very good, Overseer. For the glory of Asmodeus, Lavros says, giving the customary send-off. For the victory of Minos, Ranthar replies. Lavros spins off to shout to his other lances. It takes only a minute for the command to run through the ranks. With a shout of "Forward!" Lavros presses the red and golden button on his vortex. The warp engine wails as wisps are ground down, injecting their spirit juice into the firing combustion within the engines. The vehicles leap forward, shooting out and away from the collection of towering scorpions. The 5 lances line up on Lavros, forming a great sweeping V with him at the center. His hand itches for his weapon, his rifle, his night axe. Soon now, he growls to his axe. Soon you will taste blood, soon. As he speaks these words of violence intended, behind him the scorpions each fling an enormous ball of black and orange into the Hell Night. Casting a dark and fiery light, they rise ponderously toward the hills, where he sighted the Urdrakes. The stupid vortex is rattling my brain with its banshee wail. I shoot down the slope. On either side of me, stretched out in a line, are my 37. Models, Plumicats, Terry, Zell, Zaya, my model, and last of all, me, Myra. The Plumicats eat up ground in long bounds. The ones teamed up with models can lope as fast as my vortex, so long as I don't press the evil, spiky red and golden button. It can also freaking fly for short bursts. I'm counting on that mobility to save our bacon. We're going to run out toward the enemy scouts fast and make ourselves a freaking target. If being a target doesn't sound bacon saving, wait around a while, Clue. I've got some tricks. Speaking of targets, I look up at Saya. The luminous, green-skinned hell fairies borne aloft on translucent wings like those of a giant dragonfly. Illuminated by lux, they become iridescent, casting little rainbows about her. As we reach the valley and start up toward the next ridge, I extend a hand to Zaya. I want you to ride with me, I shout up to her. Sit here. I pat a spot on the vortex's seat in front of me. Zaya looks with distaste down at the vortex. Must I? The vortex bounces over some rocks, then shoots up the slope. It spits rocks and spews out more of its foul smoke. Yes, if those devils see you, it might give away my plan. Worse, they could try to snipe you. Then we'd all be screwed. Zaya keeps flying near me, but makes no move to land. She turns her face forward. I know she's still listening, though. Look, you're going to like what I've got planned. Just hang in there with me for about an hour, maybe less. What have you got planned? Zaya asks, drifting a bit closer. I grin despite myself. Yeah, got her hooked. Keep your plans dark and impenetrable as night, I say. And when you move, strike like a thunderbolt. I'm quoting Sun Tzu here. It's something Mori, my dad, used to say all the time. And he's fucking right. Oh, the secret thunderbolt plan, Zaya replies. Okay, I'm in. With one last disgusted look at the vortex, the Hell Fairy flits down to enfold herself between my arms and behind the vortex's handlebars. Model quivers pleasantly at the fairy's arrival. Yeah, Model, I like her too. I think to the big cloaker guy on my back. With Zaya safe, I focus on the slope. The vortex pounds up toward the second ridge line. Atop it are my scouts. They see us coming, then leap forward, ghosting out ahead of our larger group. I keep the vortex throttled back a bit to allow the plumacats to stay with me. It's still a pretty stiff pace. I don't have time to spare. Before we hit the rise, I see the sky light up with the Urdrake's freaking white laser beams. There's a red flying snake with horns at the other end of those beams whose day just got a hell of a lot worse. I grin wickedly. I shouldn't be happy, but this is war after all. And that bastard is part of team I'm gonna kill you and enslave your effing soul. Yeah, count me happy the little bastard's taking some serious heat right about now. I draw up short of the rise, allow all the plumacats and models to catch up. I look back to the Urdrakes pushing my senses through omniscientia. In it, I clearly hear his deep song-like commands. They've finished their barrage. Zorfang is moving them down the hill now. Good. They'll take about 2 minutes to reach the next ridge. Should work out just fine. Then the night lights up as huge black-orange balls loft toward us from the wisp fields. They remind me of giant charred and flaming marshmallows tumbling through the sky. What a weird time to start thinking about s'mores. They move lazily. They'll cover the distance to us in about 2 minutes. I don't intend to be there when they effing land. I reach out to Omniscientia. Okay, Zorfang, can you hear me? Yes, Father. We are moving, as asked. Shoot, then move. His voice is labored, huffing with exertion. Around him, I hear similar noises along with the sound of scrabbling. From what I'm hearing, those Urdrake are seriously hauling ass for things so large and typically so slow. Good. Get the hell out of there. You've got effing meteors heading your way. Did you get the Uctina? It fell from sky, burned, probably blind. Perfect. Now, I have another instruction. When you reach the ridge where I am now, I want you to focus all your fire on that group of scouts heading toward us. It's a small group of about 10 devils, all on vortexes. By the time you do, we should be engaged with them. Hurry! We're going to need you. I shall do this, Zorfang roar sings. Fantastic, I say. Then I shift my senses back to myself and the 36 other souls with me. Without another pause, I shout, "Forward!" In a great spray of dirt, noxious smoke, flapping of models, and scrabble of claws, we are shooting up over the rise. I glance at my horologium watch. It's 4:41 a.m. Hell time. Above me, the giant blazing marshmallows begin to fall toward the ridge Zorfang just vacated. Below, the flat expanse of Wistfields opens up, illuminated by deadly lights passing overhead. About a mile and a half off, I can clearly see the 10 devils on their vortexes. They're coming straight at us. Must have seen the Erdrick's laser beams. They're following the giant orange balls in. Noise of their screaming engines mixes with my own. Yeah, they're fucking close and coming in hot. I turn toward the second larger group of devils. What I see makes me grin despite the tormented screams of souls being ground up by devils' engines for fuel, tearing out my ever-loving ears. It's a massive group of about 50 devils riding their vortexes in my direction at full speed. This larger group is about 7 miles away, but running flat out. Must have pushed the evil spiky red and golden button. Time to put some heavy fire on those bastards. It's also time to test the power of all the scores and scores of wisps sheltering in my energetic vessel. I point my vortex toward the scouts and gun the engine. They're opposite the larger group. If I head toward the scouts, I buy myself a little time. So I race toward them. Plumic hats teamed with models fly down the slope beside me. The remaining Plumic hats race behind. They lag a bit, but that's okay. I want a follow-on force. My own scouts are up ahead. I see they found a gully to run and fly through on their way toward the 10 devils on vortexes. If I'm lucky, they'll come at the bads from the left at about the same time I'm ready to hit them from the front. My immediate worry is the fact that the goddamn devils have me outgunned. Only Terry, Zell, and I have firearms that can be used with any real skill, so there are two Plumicats. Sure, there are two Plumicats with rifles. They got about 5 minutes of training, enough to give away their positions, but little else. The 10 devils rushing toward me are all armed with rifles. I can see them lifting their weapons from saddle holsters on their vortexes, aiming toward us as our groups converge. These rifles probably have a maximum range of about a quarter mile. Fireball rounds about the same. Given our closing speed, they'll be coming into range real damn quick. I don't want to give them a chance to use those weapons effectively. I'm lifting my hand up when all hell breaks loose. The giant burning marshmallows are finally landing. Whoop, 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 whoop. 4 massive explosions tear the air. I don't see any strike points. I'm blocked by the ridge, but burning material flies high and shrieking rocks rain down hundreds of yards away. I hope Zorfang's long gone. I can't afford any delay despite the fricking cataclysm practically coming down on my effing head. Vexere! Verberere! I incant, bleeding a crap ton of energy from my rapidly filling vessel to increase my missile's range. 5 bright sparks shoot toward the enemy. As they rocket out, I shout, "Una! Lux!" and bleed another excessive plug of energy into my incantation. The missiles swell with brilliant light, each blazing like a sun. 5 huge lights converge on the Devil's scouts. Range is excessive. 3 miss altogether, but 2 strike a vortex, causing its spiked tire to unfold like a ripped soda can. Its rider is flung about 50 feet before landing with a thud that I can hear a mile off. Lux continues to spill out brilliant light. The devils hold up hands to shield their eyes as they skid to a halt. They're shouting in confusion. One is pointing at the larger force of vortexes closing fast. The others recover as the blinding lights fade. They rev their engines. In a spray of dirt and rocks, they rush forward again, more cautious this time. I've bought us about 30 seconds. Pushing my focus back toward Omniscientia, I shout to Zorfang. How soon till you get in place? For a moment, I don't hear anything from Zorfang. Oh, fuck. What if those giant marshmallows took him out? Then I hear the reassuring rasp of his labored breathing. 30 heartbeats, he shouts through Omniscientia. Good. I pour on the speed and hurl another volley of overjuiced Lux-enhanced Vexera Verberae at the scouts. This time, I intentionally aim short, lining up the land to the rider's front. One missile strikes a lead devil who'd broken away from the pack, blasting off an arm. He slams to the ground and is swallowed by churning spikes from a following vortex. The nasty machine grinds the devil into hamburger before it skids to a halt in front of my blinding displays of Lux. We are here, Father, Zorfang sings to me through Omniscientia. As the lights from my barrages fade, Urdrake lasers begin to rain down on the scouts. They're still rushing them. By now, we are in rifle range. Terry and Zell lift their weapons. No fireballs, I shout. Zell drops his, exchanges the fireball round he was about to use. Terry shoots, misses. Then I see shadows flying up from the crevice to my left. 6 models and 6 plumicats crash into the devil's flank. They tear 2 devils from their vortexes. I don't see everything that happens, but I hear the sounds of screaming, of chaotic rifle reports, of bones crunching, fresh flesh ripping. A plumicat falls to the side, bleeding from a bullet wound. Its model flaps off to engulf yet another devil. By now, lights from the Urdrake are raining down on the devils. One manages to get off a fireball round. It streaks toward us. I lift my hand. Sparks shoot out from my name curse as I shout, Confractus! The fireball round dissolves in mid-formation. 10 plumicats and models pounce on the remaining devils, many of which are now blind or surrounded by glows of raging air as they burn. In a moment, all is silent. We've crushed yet another scout force, this time head on. But with 50 more devils breathing down my neck, I've got 0 time to celebrate. Out in the wisp fields, 4 more massive balls blossom from the scorpion's tails. 4 more burning marshmallows rise up. I reach out to Omniscientia. Zorfang, get the hell out of there! Down the rise this time! Shoot and move, I hear Zorfang sing out again. Good, stay alive, and when you get to the bottom, I want you to shoot at those scorpions. Try to blind those fuckers. We can't continue to have this crap raining down on us. Yes, Mira, Zorfang sings out. His voice is strained, his breathing labored, but there is no complaint in his tone. I plow on toward the downed devils. I see some plumicats actually devouring their freaking corpses. I can't take time to deal with that now. Besides, plumicats gotta eat. Pulling up to the cluster of idle vortexes, I shout, Lunin, Sfertumbra! My moon shadow blade leaps out, the darkness in my hand. Soft light spreads all about. I turn to Zaya. Are you ready? I ask. Her eyes twinkle, her iridescent wings flutter. I think she's guessed what I have planned next. Oh, yes. Very much yes. It's Thunderbolt time. And that concludes my reading of Helkey 31, the Battle of Sunken Crag, Desperate Moves. Up next will be the Battle of Sunken Crag, Thunderbolt's Rise. As you can see, these are still works in progress, but I'm really enjoying sharing them with you. This book will be for publication at some point, so and We are getting relatively close to the end of the first book, Into Infernia. I'm about 6 chapters away. I do keep expanding the ending, but I don't know, about 1 to 2 months off, 50 to 100 pages off. Looks like the total book length will be around 500. So yeah, pretty substantial work here. First of 5, and hopefully we'll be finishing book 2, The Madness of Mechanum, by the end of this year or by early next year. So a pretty stiff writing schedule ahead. All right. So thank you all for joining me. Wow, I seem to have a lot of. Yeah. Wow. I know. I see all sorts of people chatting. Wow. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you all for joining me. And I think my next stream, I'm going to do a little bit of maybe Dungeons and Dragons game talk. I'd like to write a blog about some D&D strategy, and maybe you guys can help me with it. So I don't know, maybe Monday or Tuesday night. I'll throw it on the schedule, and maybe we can get together and chat a little bit. The first thing I want to chat about is the old adage, don't split the party, and what does that really mean? Because there seems to be like a lot of confusion about that. So yeah, I think that might be fun. I would like to write a little bit of a D&D blog about that. But thank you for joining me in my fiction reading. It's really been fun, guys. Take care. Oh, hold on. You know what we're going to do? We are going to raid somebody. I need to do this. Okay, let's see who's on. I saw Angel with No Halo was on earlier. Oh, she's still on. Okay, so let's go ahead and raid Angel with No Halo. So you guys can... Angel with No Halo likes to do a lot of really cool Lego streams where she does these live stream constructions of various Lego objects, and it looks like she is making a NASA space shuttle right now. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm a major Lego nerd, so I love Legos. All right, so hold on, let me look. How do you do a? I'm sorry, I'm going to do what I shouldn't be doing and look at my Twitch page on this, so I can see what Angel with. How do you do Angel with No Halo here for a raid? All right, Angel with No Halo. This is only, I think, my second or third raid, so I'm still not very good at it. But here we go. Oh, hold on, /raid. So I hope you guys enjoy Angel with No Halo, and thank you all for hanging out with me while I was reading from my fantasy series. And so it appears that the raid is up. So hello, Angel with No Halo, and we enjoy your your live stream as well. All right, so thank you all again, and good night.